For more on what Apple is expected to unveil tomorrow, we are joined by Bill Menezes in Denver. He is a principal research analyst at Gartner Research, where he specializes in mobile services. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about these smart watches. We saw Samsung came out with one last week. Nissan has also unveiled a smartwatch that connects to their cars. Do you think that Apple is going to jump on the smartwatch bandwagon? And do you think smartwatches will become a hit or a dud?
It would be surprising to see Apple jump in right away with something that basically just mirrors the Samsung or other products that are out there, the Pebble Watch, for example. Apple's success has always rided on it being ahead of the market and bringing in something unique. And its CEO, John Cook, has praised devices such as the Nike Fuel Band, which is not quite at a smartwatch level, but it seems to imply that they're not going to get in right away until they have something that they know is going to be differentiated and that the market is going to want.
All right, well, what the street is expecting is that Apple will unveil a new operating system for a new phone that has a faster processor and a fingerprint sensor for security. Could this be enough to convince existing iPhone owners to upgrade?
iPhone owners generally are en masse willing to upgrade once the latest and greatest comes out. I don't know that the fingerprint sensor is going to be the be-all and end-all, but when you start rolling in other things that the new iPhone is going to supposedly have, a faster processor, a much better camera, other features that take advantage of Apple's newly updated software, then you're talking about a potentially compelling package. If you remember, there have been other phones that have had some sort of fingerprint sensor, the Motorola Atrix a couple of years ago, for example. Consumers are probably looking more for the other bells and whistles.
Okay, so the faster processor maybe. Now, there's another phone that Apple is expected to reveal. That's a new version of the iPhone 5. It's a cheaper smartphone in many colors with a plastic case that will likely be marketed to consumers in emerging markets like India and China. Now, first of all, how crucial are those two markets to Apple's growth right now?
Well, they're very big. A lot of the more developed markets, the United States, for example, aren't totally saturated, but the growth there has been slowing significantly. Apple's been trying for a couple of years to get a deal with China Mobile, and one of the things that's held them back has been that they haven't had a less expensive phone, so the cost of the phone subsidy by the carrier would have been way too high. If they can get a less expensive phone out there that feels like an iPhone and runs on China Mobile's technology, then they have a potential shot at adding millions of new users to the Apple ecosystem.
Oh, okay, and talk to us about pricing, because as you mentioned, if they come out with a cheaper phone, they might be able to get more of this sort of middle class in these emerging markets. But what price point are we looking for? Because there is a lot of competition in China, specifically with ZTE, Lenovo. They've got some phones out there that are smartphones at a lower price point. So price is going to be pretty much the big factor here. What price point are you looking for?
Pricing it at $400 or less is probably what it's going to take to be compelling for an iPhone. Remember, the iPhone is always considered a premium product, so even the lower priced iPhone is probably going to be a little more expensive. But between the price drop, which may attract people who haven't yet bought an iPhone, and the cachet of the device, that's probably what Apple's going to have to rely on to make it competitive against these lower price phones that you mentioned that already dominate the market.
Now, but when you have a cheaper phone out in the market and you've got a brand like Apple that is very much about the cool factor and a prestige brand in many ways, is there some worry that they could tarnish their brand by bringing out this cheaper version? How do they prevent that from happening?
You're absolutely right. They have to be really careful to make sure that what they're producing has the look and feel of an iPhone, even if it's got a plastic case, for example, as opposed to the metal cases that iPhone users have grown to love over the years. It has to have the same look and feel. It has to have the same industrial design attractiveness that Apple is famous for. And without that, then it might be a little difficult for the brand to be accessible to those users who are less likely to pay a lot of money for a phone. But Apple has always surprised people in the past, and it wouldn't be unusual to see a few surprises come out tomorrow as well.
All right, well, we'll be really anticipating that. It's always an interesting day when Apple comes out with new products. Bill Menezes, thank you so much for joining us. Bill Menezes is the Principal Research Analyst at Gartner Research.